Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. If you were an Xbox 360 player in the late 2000s, Summer of Arcade should instantly bring back some fond memories. From 2008 to 2013, in July and August, Xbox would release a brand new Xbox Live Arcade game every week. Usually these were hotly anticipated titles or new franchise entries. It was a way to promote the launch of some huge games and for gamers to get excited for them. Usually there was some type of sweepstakes or money-back system if you bought most of the games. This was always a fun time of year for me as an Xbox gamer back in the day. Recently, I wanted to dive back into the games of each Summer of Arcade to see how they were and how they hold up today. And I'll be playing all of these on the original Xbox 360 hardware. I first want to thank my YouTube channel members, thank you for the support. So let's start all the way back in 2008 and go through each of the 5 games of that year. Starting on July 30th, 2008, Summer of Arcade officially kicked off with Geometry Wars Retro Evolve 2, launching at 800 Microsoft points or $10 US. What was cool about this first promotion was just how stacked the first lineup was with anticipated titles. Along with anyone playing this, you would get entered into a sweepstakes to win a bunch of rewards, so even if you were interested in the game in the first place, there was a fun incentive as well. And what a way to start, with the sequel to a game that was highly synonymous with getting Xbox Live Arcade a boom in popularity. Geometry Wars 2 had to follow a fast-paced action twin-stick shooter and give a good reason to revisit what was a simple concept that was highly addicting. In Geometry Wars 2, they somehow improved upon that and made something that outshines an already great original game. On its surface, we have the same thing that makes the original so great. It's a simple arcade title where you play as a little ship and you face off against the many simple shaped enemies that appear. All of these have different AI, from the green shapes that'll run away from you when you shoot at it, the orange arrows that charge only in one direction, or the red circles that suck in all the enemies around them to become more powerful. The gameplay is almost untouched. They didn't need to improve the game there because it was already fundamentally strong and controlled extremely well with one stick moving and the other shooting. Yet, what makes this stand out is the abundance of different game modes in this entry. In Retro Evolve 2, you get 6 different game modes to play through, and that doesn't even include the multiplayer modes featuring both co-op and versus. You get the evolved experience from the original, which is just a high score run, but you also get a timed high score mode, which asks you to get the highest score possible in a limited time set. There's a mode that only is the little orange arrows that you have to dodge around. This is probably the most intense mode of all of them because the screen gets filled so fast. These 3 modes are the core Geometry Wars experience and are still as addicting to this day. It's fast-paced and quick enough to work for limited times, but it also wants you to keep pushing your score on online leaderboards. The 3 other game modes are some of the most interesting modes of the game, because they take the concepts of the original and throw it on its head. There is a pacifism mode, which has you not being able to shoot. This is inspired by the achievement from the original, asking you not to kill anything for the first minute of playtime. Here you can glide through gates, and this will blow up enemies near you. This mode is insanely hectic and a blast. King mode sees you only being able to shoot within specific zones on the map. So enemies pile up whenever you have to move from zone to zone, where you have to clear out enemies to traverse to the next area. And finally, we have sequence mode, which is a level-based version of Geometry Wars, and I think it's handled well, and we would actually get to see this implemented later on in the series. On top of all that, we have crisper graphics, a less chaotic style, and excellent electronic music. The original is an excellent title, but this is the same great game with even more to do. I think launching the Summer of Arcade promotion with such an excellent sequel to a great game was a strong way to say that this summer was going to be full of amazing games. So let's say if you were somebody who bought each one at launch, this was a blast of a start, and it's one I still recommend playing today. Yet the greatness doesn't end here. The following week, on August 6th, Braid was released on the Xbox 360 for 1,200 Microsoft points or $15 US. Braid frequently comes up in discussions about important video games, particularly in the indie game sphere. It's a game I've known about and understood its significance, but I had never played through Braid until now, specifically for creating this video. Having played it, I can now appreciate how amazing this could have been in 2008, and it remains an extremely entertaining puzzle platformer. In Braid, you take on the role of Tim, embarking on a quest to rescue a princess by navigating through multiple time-related levels, all narrated through text in storybook fashion, resembling a novel. It goes beyond the typical side-scroller narrative of its time, delving into themes of relationships and loneliness. While it provides a fun gaming experience, the central story is interesting, especially when compared to the other 4 games I'm discussing today. It has a lot more personality and an impactful feeling. Reaching the final level and witnessing where the light story takes you feels important, explaining why it was mind-blowing at the time of its release. Although indie games now often explore similar territory, in 2008 it was a fresh approach. I still find the game design to be innovative. The game is structured into multiple sections with levels based on certain aspects of time. Initially, it's relatively simple. The first section of levels allows you to rewind time. It's the most basic aspect of the game and continues throughout. If you die by hitting an enemy, you simply rewind to the last plausible state. The lack of a tutorial allows for a trial and error approach, adding to the fun. You use this mechanic to collect puzzle pieces scattered throughout the levels, and it's crucial for reaching the game's finale. While it's possible to rush through the game, there's no satisfying ending for those who do. The game is all about racking your brain to collect some of the harder to get pieces. As you progress, the mechanics become increasingly challenging. One of my favorites is a set of levels where certain elements are not affected by the rewinding of time. This allows for creative puzzle solving, such as opening doors in a specific order determined by the passage of time. Another great section involves an orb that slows down time, presenting an excellent puzzle where you must strategically navigate a passage while slowing down projectiles. The game really makes you think, but not in a way that has you banging your head against the wall. It's fair and thought out. Braid has a rather nice look that would go on to influence many indie games after it. The classical score is lush and makes the whole experience stress-free. Sometimes in other games, it's easy to get frustrated when stuck on a puzzle, but here it's easy to logically follow where to go next because you can tell this game was created by someone who really studied game design. It carries the tenets of allowing you to play and learn rather than throwing text boxes and tutorials in your face. It's a great, well-controlling, and thoughtful puzzle platformer. It's understandable why this game was well received in 2008, and it's still held in high regard to this day. I'm a little sad it took me so long to experience this one, but I can definitely say I see the hype here. If you haven't played it, it's worth giving a shot. The first summer of arcade delivered not one, but 2 great titles, ones that would be remembered for years to come. The lineup has already been incredible, and I can imagine people getting both of these being blown away by the content they are getting. The following week on August 13th, we got Bionic Commando Rearmed. It was available for 800 Microsoft points or $10 US. This game is a remake of the Capcom NES classic Bionic Commando, aiming to bring the levels, map design, and gameplay into the 7th generation of consoles. Developed by Grin, their goal was to capture the charm and originality of the classic while giving it a modern touch. In my opinion, they succeeded in creating a fun action game that may feel odd at first, but becomes enjoyable once you get into it. In Bionic Commando, there's no jump button, which is a departure from the norm in side-scrolling platformers. Instead, you have a bionic arm that allows you to swing around platforms and lift yourself up above them. This mechanic takes some getting used to, with the arm having its nuances. You can swing around platforms for a great sense of speed, but the timing needs to be spot on. Lifting yourself up on ledges requires precision, making it essential to avoid unnecessary movements, and you do also have to add an extra button press to ascend. Though initially daunting, this system becomes intuitive and enjoyable after around 15 minutes of gameplay, and you can really get into it. The physics are straightforward, and once you grasp them, the game feels excellent. It's a simple run and gun with added elements of the bionic arm, making it stand out. While the enemy AI is a bit lackluster, it really doesn't affect the game. The satisfaction comes from overcoming obstacles and swinging around the environment. The game features a unique, well-designed level layout, allowing you to travel to most of the levels, but specific items are needed to make certain sections easier. It's like a maze where you have to strategize the best plan of attack. Additionally, there are levels with no action, serving as opportunities to obtain items and engage in challenge rooms. These challenge rooms are enjoyable, allowing you to hone your skills and achieve higher scores by completing obstacle courses faster. The story itself feels like a giant parody of 80s action movies, and it's surprisingly funny. You play as Nathan Rad Spencer, a soldier tasked with going into enemy territory to save Super Joe and take down the enemy. Spencer constantly throws out one-liners and mocks his adversaries. The dialogue pictures illustrated by Shinkoro are phenomenal, making the portraits stand out. The sound design and music are spot on, taking riffs from the original 8-bit soundtrack and giving them a fresh update. The game's music is heavy on techno and aligns perfectly with its tempo and pace. While the game can be beaten relatively quickly, the varied achievement list and multiple difficulties offer plenty of content. There's even a multiplayer mode. Bionic Commando Rearmed is fun and fast-paced and has a great retro hook. It also has a lot to offer, and it feels like a full and complete package. Considering it was only a $10 release, I'm surprised at the value it offered. Even today, Bionic Commando remains a game that's still great to play. Before we move on though, I just want to say thank you for watching so far in the video. If you're enjoying it so far, please leave a like, as it helps me out a lot in the algorithm. But let's go ahead and move on. The following week, on August 20th, Galaga Legions was released for 800 Microsoft points or $10 US. Published and developed by Namco, this game represents a new take on the Galaga franchise. It's understandable why this game was a clear entry into the Summer of Arcade lineup, just with that connection alone. Galaga is one of the most popular games of all time, and in my opinion, one of the best arcade games ever made. It's an endlessly replayable space shooter because of its simplicity. You just move and shoot at aliens, and it feels great to play. With this edition, Namco attempted to breathe some fresh air into the series and change up the arcade look for something close to Rez. Galaga Legions is bright and colorful, making for an insane visual experience. Lines are drawn all over the screen, it's bright, and enemies flow from everywhere. The visuals going on are insane, and I do think at times it does detract from the gameplay. It's typical in games like this to be visually overpowering to keep you on your toes, but the constant line drawing on the screen is very distracting. I did get used to it though, and I do appreciate the game's commitment to being visually in your face. Gameplay wise, it's very simple. I had originally thought when I first played this that it was going to be a twin stick shooter similar in vein to Geometry Wars. You can only shoot ahead of you on the screen, yet you get satellites that you can strategically place down to shoot in opposite directions as you move around. It's tactical, and I thought it was a neat addition. It's needed because enemies come at you from all directions and are dense. The screen is filled to the brim with enemies, and you have to be on your toes dodging them and their gunfire, and the satellites help alleviate that. Now, instead of killing enemies individually, the goal is to generally hit a leader. You can tell who the leader of the pack is by an orange glow that they have. Killing them will kill the rest. Usually they are packed behind cover, and you have to figure out how to get to them, especially when hordes of enemies swarm in from all sides of the screen. I'd say it's a nice way to add some strategy to Galaga, and I think that makes for an entertaining space shooter. It's a good, simple time, and if you like bullet hells and the like, you will most likely find fun in this one. As a fan of the genre, I think this one plays and works well. It doesn't have a lot of anything truly unique to keep me coming back though. That mainly comes from the fact that this game lacks on game modes. You get an arcade mode that just has you move from level to level on a quest to get to the end, and another one that just lets you choose what chunk of levels you want to play. That's it though, and it really leaves a lot to be desired. I feel like there could have been a classic mode, a good multiplayer mode, or something to flip the game on its head, but we don't get that in this edition. This game is fun at its core, and it's one I'd say check out if you enjoy the genre, but at $10, the price seems a little steep for what you were getting. It's only really good for a few hours of play, and you will probably never come back unless you really want the achievements. This is the first weaker entry in the Summer of Arcade lineup, but the thing is it's still a good game. It's good fun and the visuals stand out, and I like the music a lot. I guess when the rest of the games are so good in comparison, this one doesn't do as much. It's one I'd say check out, but after all of these games, I'd play those faster, including the final game of this lineup. The final Summer of Arcade game to roll out in 2008 was on August 27th with Castle Crashers, developed by the Behemoth. It launched at 1,200 Microsoft points or $15. Alongside Braid, this is another huge release, and probably one of the most memorable Xbox Live Arcade releases ever. Castle Crashers is a game people still bring up, and at the time, I remember many friends playing this one. And the anticipation was there for this game too, with the team's last game, Alien Hominid, being a classic on Newgrounds and getting a console release. Castle Crashers also had a nice, unique art design, and you knew going in that some great humor was going to be dropped into the experience as well. Castle Crashers is a beat-em-up hack-and-slash game. It's in 2D and has you traveling across many areas, beating up enemies along the way. Your goal is to save princesses, and you can pick different knights to play as. Each has their own magical powers to use, and this game could have been a typical beat-em-up, having you move through stages, beating up some enemies, and you call it a day. But Castle Crashers has a lot more going on with the gameplay that helps elevate it beyond that. Each knight that you pick will level up the further and further you get into the game. I think that's where the fun really kicks in, just the leveling options. You can level up whatever skills you want from attack to health, and there's a lot of customization during your play experience. And this system is used on each of your characters. I always enjoyed playing this with friends and playing along with characters at varying skill levels. You can also choose from a multitude of different weapons you pick up along the way, all with their own personal stats. There's also animal buddies that help you along the way and follow you around and might pick up certain items for you. It really could have been a simple hack and slash title, and I think people would have been fine with it. The controls are fluid and the movement feels excellent. It's a tight playing game. Yet all of the added elements not only enhance the experience, but help shape it into the title that many still replay to this day. I caught myself when I was recording footage for this video playing a lot of it because it was just addicting to get back into this one and level everyone up. And this game is insanely fun with multiple people. When you get a co-op group of 4, you're in for a blast. It's a very simple game, and it's a game that you can just hand somebody a controller and they will understand it and be able to play it. As someone who can find beat-em-ups extremely hit or miss, this one is a great one with a lot to unlock, and it has a great amount of playtime. The art is wonderful, the music is catchy, and the map music is up there as one of my all-time favorites in video game music and is playing right now under this section of the video. It's all around just a blast of a game and a great way to end Summer of Arcade 2008. After thoroughly exploring all of the Summer of Arcade games in 2008, it's evident that it was a tremendous success in terms of delivering high-quality content. There's not a single bad game in this lineup. Each one offers a unique and enjoyable experience. Whether you chose to buy just one or all of them, you are guaranteed to have a blast. Galaga Legions, while simple, provides a fun space shooter. Geometry Wars Retro Evolved 2 stands out as an excellent twin-stick shooter with loads of replayability. Bionic Commando has a unique and standout action side-scroller experience. Braid has mind-bending puzzles and platforming and establishes itself as an exceptional title. Finally, Castle Crashers delivers an incredible co-op hack-and-slash experience. If you got all of these games back then, you had access to hours and hours of fun content. The success of this promotion is evident as it continued on for 5 more years. And if you're interested in seeing me cover each of these years individually, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to see if this is a series you all would want to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed this journey, and it's a testament to Xbox Live Arcade being an excellent platform for discovering and enjoying great games, with 4 of these titles being among the best the service has to offer. But that wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. Also comment below with any Summer of Arcade memories, or if you just have memories with any of these games, or if you're interested in them. Also, be sure to subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members, campers, and camp counselors. Thank you for your support. But I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.